Well, first of all, thank you very much, Alastair Crooke, at Conflicts Forum, for joining us here at Oil and Money, the 40th anniversary. Just a general question, really. We heard earlier Amin Nasser, CEO of Saudi Aramco, going through the attacks. Should Saudi and Gulf Arab states continue to expect to rely on the traditional US security umbrella going forward?
I mean, clearly that has failed, and this has been a spectacular failure of the security umbrella. There were air defenses in vicinity of Aramco plants, and they achieved nothing. The Patriot system was there. It did not find it. Even now, after all this time, I understand that neither the United States nor European states are with any certainty able to define the actual operational modus of the attack on Aramco, where it originated, how it arrived, and who controlled it ultimately. So the ambiguity remains, and that ambiguity is a really strategically important element because it has shown how vulnerable people are. And the other thing that is really significant about this is how well designed it was. And I think it was very clear from the Aramco presentation that they hit exactly the right targets in terms of trying to cut production at Aramco and send a very clear message. If you like, an operation that was extraordinarily well executed and well planned with inside help.
And given that context that we now seem to find ourselves in within the region, if we look at the Middle East region at the moment, we see a Russia resurgent, we see the US reluctant to be drawn into another regional conflict, and we see Gulf Arab states and Iran seemingly locked in this ideological struggle for control. In a very broad sense, what kind of new Mideast order do you see emerging?
I think it's very clear that now we've had 5 very significant tweets from President Trump saying that it's time to get out of the Middle East and that he wants to get out. We've also seen there's been pushback from very strong complaints and pushback and said, no, we're only going to move 50 soldiers away from the border with Turkey and Syria. But really this is a pivotal moment because it's clear that that whole policy, decades-long policy on the Middle East is shifting. Yes, there may be pushback and the troops don't go yet, but I think everyone in the region understands that America's on its way out of Afghanistan from the Middle East. It's going to be resisted, but that is the direction. And I think that is going to force a different paradigm in the Middle East. I think the paradigm that we're going to see in the Middle East is that the actual security architecture will become better because there is no choice. Saudi Arabia, Gulf states now have to settle with Iran, whereas before they didn't have to. Now there has to be some sort of accommodation, and that will be facilitated this time by Russia and China. I think the security architecture will be better, but as a whole, the Middle East is in a bad way, both politically and economically. Young people, no jobs, Middle Eastern deplorables are getting restless. There's trouble in Egypt, in Iraq, across the region, because there's been no trickle down from this economy. And so I think we will see no real political solutions coming out of this, even if there's a security one, simply because really there's no vision, there's no energy for seeing a future governance of the Middle East.
And a final question. We see a lot of talk of economic diversification in Gulf Arab states, traditional petrodollar states. How do you see them achieving these aims of diversing their economies? Do you see that ending up being a success? They don't seem to have much choice at the moment. How do you see that evolving?
You know, I don't think this is really just a Gulf question any longer. And we've been talking about diversification they've been talking about it for decades, and nothing really has come about. But it's becoming much more complicated now, because we're really moving into a post-industrial era across the globe. And what the competition now is simply for the commanding heights of the technological manufacturing world coming. And I don't think that really the Gulf states are well placed for that. I mean, they can buy in certain things, but they can't make themselves a leader. I'm not even sure that Europe can compete in this field against China, Russia, and the United States. And that's where the economy is going to be. Ordinary manufacturing production is already in recession in Europe, and it's not an opportune moment to start doing general manufacturing in the Gulf states, I do not think.
Alastair, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoy the conference.
Thank you very much.